I feel completely lost because I just found out that my 42-year-old wife, with whom I've been married for 12 years, has been having an affair. The police called me in for questioning about the assault on her lover, and right now, I don't know what to do. My mind is not clear, and I'm seeking some direction. We have an amazing 11-year-old son, and until last night, I believed we had a good marriage. I thought I treated her well, and we didn't face any financial or confidentiality issues. I used to wake up every morning thankful that she's my wife, but now I'm unsure about everything. Yesterday, I received a call from my local police department as I was finishing work, asking me to come to the police station as soon as possible. This made me panic, and I asked if something had happened to my wife or son. They assured me not to worry and just come to the station quickly. Upon arrival, they placed me in a room with a table and chairs, asked for my name, and then started questioning me about a guy my wife works with. I haven't seen or talked to this guy since December 2019. At my wife's company Christmas party, the officers repeatedly asked me how long I've known and how I found out. After an hour of this, I stopped answering their questions and kept asking about the safety of my son and wife. We went back and forth for about 2 hours, with breaks in between when they left the room for 15 to 20 minutes, only to return and restart the questioning, resembling some low-budget cop show. The last time they entered, the cop handed me a tablet and showed me a video of my wife and the guy from her work being closeness. After that, I don't recall much, except for repeatedly screaming in shock and having a full-blown panic attack in the middle of the police station. A paramedic checked my high blood pressure, and despite the recommendation to go to the hospital, I refused, insisting I needed to find my wife and son. Once I calmed down, the officers explained that the guy in the video had an affair with my wife and apparently several other women. That morning, he was found in critical condition in his driveway, having been thumped, ruined, and set on fire. They didn't know if he would survive. His wife gave permission to check his phone and computer, where they found the video of my wife. They asked where I was that morning, and I told them the gym, then work about 10 minutes from the gym. At that point, they said I could leave, but suggested I might not want to stay at my house because they weren't sure if his affair with my wife could be the reason for the attack. They also mentioned my wife wasn't the only person he had an affair with, prompting me to rush home. My son was staying with our neighbors, so I picked him up and we packed some clothes and his school laptop. I grabbed my weapon and we headed to my parents' house, 45 minutes away. I still haven't heard from my wife. Her phone is going straight to voicemail. I called the officer who gave me his card, and he informed me that she is at the hospital with the guy she's been cheating with. I'm here in bed with my son on one side and my 38 on the other. My dad is sleeping in his chair in the living room with an auto shotty across his lap, and I haven't slept in over 30 hours. I don't even know where to start. Any help would be appreciated right now. Update. I learned from my lawyer that the police have significant authority, especially if you're not under arrest. They can pretty much do or say anything, even lie directly to your face, which is what happened. Turns out, when I contacted the detective, my wife wasn't at the hospital with her lover. She had been admitted to the psychiatric facility earlier that day while he was still in surgery. I don't know why they lied about it, but it's made me highly suspicious of law enforcement. After waking up that afternoon, I reached out to my uncle's law partner, who's also a family friend. He came to my parents' house, discussed my options with me, and his entire law firm is now handling both my divorce and criminal defense. On that Sunday, he obtained an emergency custody order and a protective order against my wife for me, my son, and my parents. Our court date is in 60 days. The police served her on Monday as she was leaving the psychiatric hospital. According to her brother, who's a close friend of mine, she didn't take it well and is staying with her parents for the time being. I still haven't talked to her, and she hasn't made any attempt to speak to me either. Whether it's due to shame, indifference, or the order of protection, I don't know, but I'm glad nonetheless. My wife isn't the person I thought she was, and I feel ashamed for not realizing it sooner. I had to tell my son the truth, age-appropriate and straightforward. His first words were a plea not to let mommy take him away. When I asked why, he told me my wife had been treating him poorly when I wasn't around, threatening to take him away if he told me, saying he'd never see me again. She's been emotionally torturing our son, and I was too blind to see it. That hurt me more than the video, to be honest. I informed the lawyer about my son's revelation, and he used it, along with her mental state and commitment, to secure emergency custody. I've contacted his school for therapy resources, and he will start therapy after the first of the year. I feel like the worst father at this point. Regarding our families, her parents contacted me on Tuesday, wanting to see us. I was still at my parents' house and allowed them to come, but she wasn't allowed near us. They agreed. They were apologetic, and her mother cried the entire time. Her father was heartbroken and referred to my wife as that girl. They both felt something was wrong with her and didn't raise her to be this way. We hugged and cried before they left, and I assured them they'll always be part of our lives, regardless of the divorce. After what my son told me, their visit was the hardest part of our whole ordeal. My lawyers have been doing excellent work. They found out that the man my wife was sleeping with has a lengthy criminal record. One lawyer told me that when they printed out the guy's arrest record, the printer ran for 5 minutes straight. From what they learned, he's currently on parole for medication offenses and has had gang affiliations in the past. He's still alive but in critical condition and may not make it. The firm has an investigator who contacted the co-worker who drove my wife to the hospital. The co-worker revealed that my wife's affair was an open secret around the office. My lawyers think that's how the police figured out who I and my wife were. In the video, there are several photos from last year's Christmas party at her work, and my wife and I are in several of them. That's where I am currently in this whole situation. I'm just numb, still lost, and heartbroken. How long does the numbness last? And is there any way to get past this emotional lethargy faster? I mean, really numb, like a dream. Everything I've just said has felt like it's happening to someone else, no doubt. Update. I apologize for the long message, but I needed to express my feelings this week. First, my son is improving significantly. He began therapy in early January, and the change is already noticeable. I asked if it was okay to talk to his therapist, and he agreed. So, I've had a few discussions with her. The therapist mentioned that my soon-to-be ex verbally and emotionally mistreated our son when they were alone. He couldn't make noise or bother her, and she'd leave him alone for long periods, even overnight when I was away. She threatened him not to speak up, saying he'd be taken away and never see me again. The therapist noted that this has left him feeling powerless and dependent at a critical stage in his development, when he should be feeling empowered and self-reliant. To address this, I bought him his own phone and helped him memorize family members' numbers and relevant addresses. I've been teaching him situational awareness, paying attention to street names, and reading addresses and buildings. We've also role-played how to ask for help and explain to strangers when he feels unsafe. Despite it being a short time, I can see that it's really boosting his confidence. Any suggestions on how to continue building his self-reliance would be appreciated. His safety and well-being are still my top priorities. Regarding myself, I'm doing as well as expected. I started therapy around the same time as my son, and though I don't talk to my therapist as much as he does, it has helped to discuss my thoughts and feelings about everything that has happened to us and our family. The numbness is gone, replaced by a white-hot ball of anger in the pit of my stomach whenever I think of my soon-to-be ex and what she's put her family through. Strangely, although I dislike feeling angry, it's easier to deal with than the numbness. My therapist says this is part of the grieving process, and it's not just how we feel, but how we channel those emotions that matters. My legal situation is honestly the scariest thing I've dealt with in my life. I was granted temporary full custody and child support, which I didn't want, but my lawyer insisted we ask for it, along with a continuation of the order of protection for myself and my son. During the order hearing, which neither my wife nor her lawyer attended, the judge asked if we would allow supervised visits, but my son refused, prompting my lawyer to advise bringing him along. The judge asked my son if he would speak to him alone, and he agreed. After their meeting, the judge granted the temporary orders and ordered therapy and a psychological evaluation for my son. Fortunately, the therapist he is seeing is somehow involved with or accredited to work with the courts, so he doesn't have to see another therapist. My lawyer says this is good because it means his therapist can provide a custody recommendation, but it still scares me that she could get some form of custody after what she put him through. As for the affair partner, I don't know much. According to my lawyers, he's still alive but still in the hospital. I haven't heard from the police since my initial interview, so there's nothing new to report there. As for my soon-to-be ex, I still haven't seen her since D-Day. I was questioned until Thursday. She has attempted to call me a few times, but I haven't answered. And when she called from another number, I hung up immediately. I have nothing to say to her, and I don't want to hear anything she has to say to me. Her lawyer requested a preliminary hearing for our court-appointed mediation. She was served the second week of January. She was there with her lawyer, and I know this might sound trivial, but even with the mask, she looked bald. My soon-to-be ex was always an attractive and athletic woman. I swear, in our wedding photos, she looks like a supermodel. But now, seeing her significant weight loss is disturbing. She appears sickly and weak. During most of the training, she avoided looking at me, keeping her face down. In short, their requests were absurd. They sought validation during the divorce and shared custody, even asking us to drop the operations. Surprisingly, she wants to live together until the divorce is finalized, and no, I'm not joking. After everything, she insists on staying in the same house. It was so insulting that I had a throbbing headache throughout the entire meeting, but it was all worthwhile for the major revelation we shared with her lawyer. When her lawyer inquired about handling asset division, my lawyer, with a shocked expression, responded, "What division of assets? Read the prenup." The look on her lawyer's face was priceless because she hadn't informed him about the prenup. My late uncle, who founded the law firm I use, crafted the prenup and even hired a lawyer for her before our marriage. According to my lawyer, it's exceptionally well structured as we never mixed finances. The house we live in was a gift from my uncle, with all utilities and insurance in my name. Vehicles are registered in the owner's name only, and we never signed for each other's debts. We have a shared savings account for household needs and emergencies. But she has already drained it, leaving less than $300 from an initial $8,000. The prenup stipulates a 50-50 division of marital assets and debt, with ownership reverting to the individual who accrued intangible assets and personal debt. The infidelity clause states that admitting or being caught in infidelity forfeits the right to claim any form of spousal support. There's more to it, and my lawyer assures me that breaking this prenup is nearly impossible because it's the fairest he's ever read. However, her lawyer's last request bothered me. He suggested postponing official mediation for 6 months while she attends rehab for substance mistreat, a concern raised by some. I hadn't considered it, but my lawyer and I will discuss and decide. After talking to my lawyer, my soon-to-be ex literally spoke for the first time, asking me to read a letter she wrote. Despite my lawyer's warning, I decided to read it when I got home. It started with the expected cheater's apologies, expressions of love, regret for mistreating our son, and a desire for us again. She explained that after a major surgery 2 years ago, she began abusing medication, buying from people at work, including her affair partner, who eventually became her go-to source. When she ran out of money, she resorted to sleeping with him to get more. She said she hid this from me, out of fear I'd make her stop, claiming he meant nothing to her but a way to satisfy her weakness. She now acknowledges the gravity of her actions, wants to change for our family, and asks for time to prove her commitment. I want to clarify that I'll never reconcile with my wife. Our marriage ended when she cheated and mistreated our son. However, I feel like the most naive person for not noticing sooner. I'm torn between discarding her or feeling justified in my sense of betrayal. Right now, I'm overwhelmed with anger and resentment towards her. But am I handling someone battling their demons appropriately? I feel lost and hopeless. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.